I'm an anthropologist. Anybody know what that means? What does it mean? Boy, dead on, study human history. A lot of times people will say you study bones. That's an archaeologist. Or you study ants. That's an entomologist. But yes, not only human history, but human history today. Anthropologists are interested in everything about us that makes us human. Our cultures, our lifeways, our byways, our religions, our kinship models, our families, our political structure. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pre-industrial people, ancient people, nomadic people, people that we once were, and the lessons we can learn from their leadership techniques to use today in a post-industrial world. The first time I came off of a reservation with one of these, driving with my knee and playing as I drove, a police officer pulled me over thinking it was something very different than it is. It's true. It's a flute. A Zuni bear on top of a Navajo flute, played by a Jew from Utah. Actually, half my family's Mormon, half's Jewish, which makes me universally hated everywhere I go. It's true. But my best friend growing up came from a family that was Muslim. That's it. It was Utah that made the Jew and the Muslim best friends. And that's the world that we live in today. So I worked with Native American tribes. I've also worked with spiritualists and gang members. And I'm fascinated with leadership and tribal leadership and how we come together as a tribe. The theory that I use to understand people in this sort of world is called MOM. Membership, order, meaning, taught to me by an anthropologist named Ronald Holt. MOM. Membership, order, meaning. MOM. Everyone needs MOM. Membership. Who is a member of my group? My close family, my friends, a slightly larger circle, the people in my school or in my workplace, the people who have ever been in my school and workplace, people that are Americans of the same country or from the UK if they're from the same country as me. Who is part of who I am? According to the Oxford anthropologist I forget his name, the Dunbar number. Robin Dunbar did a study of primates and their neocortex size and how large of a group that they could maintain. In extrapolating out to humans, we can have a structured friendship model, people that are our close tied-in friends, of about 150 people. Facebook says we can have 5,000. About 150 people, if we spend 40% of our time grooming each other, talking to each other, loving each other, our 150 people are our immediate tribe. And in small bands, it's about 100 people when we look historically. Tribes, about 150. Full, large chiefdoms, about 2,500 to 5,000. Beyond that number, the billions of people on this earth, we don't even see them as human. When we talk about driving down the street and someone pulling out in front of us, they pull out in front of us and we say, I want you dead. I want missiles to come out of my car and your car to explode into a billion pieces. But if we drive up and instead we see that it's our first cousin, we laugh it off and say, oh, you shouldn't do that, you'll make people mad. And that anger dissipates because they're part of our reality of who is real and who is not. To make a conscious effort beyond that number, to try and come to some understanding of who these people are and to include them into our group, is a hardship but possible. The second phase is order. What is my place within my membership? Who is beneath me? Maybe outside beneath me? Who is above me? How can someone raise to my position within the organization? How can I raise above my standard? Next is meaning. What meaning is derived from what it is that I do? How am I making the world better? Why am I here? What is my place? How am I changing the world? If an individual has membership, order, and meaning in my invisible chart here, that individual would be willing to fight a war for you, put themselves in danger, join a religion, travel to a new place, do anything they need to do because they are fulfilled. Too often I've been working with some of the top 100 hospitals in the nation where individuals should have a sense of meaning because they're saving lives literally daily, every day. They should have a sense of membership of the medical association and the Hippocratic oath. But instead, I find that a lot of these people, as well as police officers and firefighters, don't derive their membership, order, and meaning from their work, but instead from video games. I'm a member of the Red Dragon Party. I am a 14th level elf orc knight. My meaning is I saved the princess. And all day long at work, they're thinking about getting home to friends and being a member of the television show, knowing their place as an eye on the wall and their meaning derived from everything solved in the TV show in 30 minutes or less, rather than deriving it there. So once we know that those are people's needs, we can take a step forward and figure out how to fulfill them. In a tribe, do they have a leader like we think they do? I think most Americans think of a Native American tribal leader as someone that is a headman in charge of all things. The all-powerful fascist dictator, like we've seen in our world. We imbue them with our image there, and that's not the way it works. When we are in a tribal society, what do humans do primarily? Because we know each other and everyone is akin. Everyone is part of our 150 or our 2,500, and so we don't want to become the evil fascist dictator leader over them. In such small groups, we instead have multiple chiefs. The pine nut chief. When it's time to gather pine nuts, you're the chief. The rabbit hunting chief, the moving chief, the medicine chief. When it's time to do one of these tasks, we take the person who is best suited at this, who has stood up and said, yes, I'm the one, and we let them be in charge of everything to do with the tribe for that interaction. I was talking to a medical doctor recently, and I said, what's the biggest problem on your floor? And what he told me surprised me. He said, the biggest problem I face is that my coffee pot on my floor isn't working. The coffee pot on your floor isn't working. Yes. And he had mercury poisoning, I call it. Anger that had been built up over time. Anger over this. Mercury poisoning because you put a little mercury in your hand, you're fine. A little more, 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 no problem. A little more, no worry. A little more, crazy forever. Mad as a hatter, right? So, mercury poisoning built up over time over this coffee pot. And I said, what do you do when you need coffee? He said, well, I go upstairs and I steal their coffee. What does everyone else on your floor do? We go upstairs and we steal their coffee. Okay, well, what do you do when that floor becomes angry at you? We go downstairs and we steal their coffee. So you form a raiding party and you raid from the other floors. Apparently, they are not part of your membership, and so you steal from them. So why don't you just go get a new coffee pot? Because it's not my responsibility. They need to go get me a new coffee pot. Who are they? I don't know, but it's not my job. How long has this been going on? 2 years. It is time to become the coffee pot chief. You have been called from on high to become the coffee pot chief and let it rain down coffee upon your people. In a hospital, it's a little harder than we think. They have to have a special plug and a special coffee pot, and it's a little more than we think. But with determination, he was able to make that transition so that when someone needed a doctor, they weren't running frantically through the halls when he was 2 floors up or 2 floors down. But he was there, or she was there, and available and ready. So the difference between a leader and a manager is that a leader has vision. A leader has vision. A leader in these tribal units in a chiefdom is not a manager who's been put in charge to manage. Many of us in our industrial and post-industrial world have a manager that has been hired to manage us. You sit here, you sit here, you sit here, stay. Managed. Whoa, managed. A leader leads. A leader has a vision, and that vision is bigger than themselves. It includes you, it includes me, it includes us. And we follow the leader because we are part of their vision, and we see ourselves in their vision, see our place within their vision. And so we can follow them, and we can be a part of what is happening. It used to be that our leaders had to be individuals who were within close proximity to where we were. Not the case anymore. This TEDx was put together by people coming from at least 4 different countries, some of whom had never met each other before. In this world, our leadership and our followers do not have to be in proximity to us. They don't have to be people that our parents or friends already know. They don't have to be relatives. They can be anywhere, as long as we have a vision that's big enough to include them and that gives them a sense of membership within the organization, order how they can rise and how they can bring others up with them, and meaning of how they're making the world better by what they're doing within the organization. So we choose these leaders within this, and we choose ourselves to be a leader. And we cannot see a leader as the utmost peak, the top of all things, an isolation, all alone, with the plebeians in the factory below. Very often we see the metaphor of a leader as someone climbing to the peak of a mountain. Growing up in Utah, I climbed a lot of mountains, though it doesn't look like it. Is that a fat joke? Does this fat make me look fat? I climbed a lot of mountains, and when you climb to the top of a mountain, do you know what you see out there? Peaks of other mountains. When we bring somebody up in our organization, a lot of people fear, well, what if they displace me? No. They can move sideways and raise to another peak. And then we have people on other peaks who are working together to make things happen. And as they rise, we rise as well. It's the bad manager or the bad chief that says, I will be in charge, and you lay out like flat sand beneath me. As opposed to the one that says, I will rise, and you are now my secondary, and we rise, and you are now fit to replace me, and we continue to rise up the system, building leaders beneath us and inspiring them to be chieftains and coffee pot chiefs, choosing to be the coffee pot chief when we see that the situation arises. This requires us to clearly communicate our message. So many people have talked here about knowing your message, discovering yourself. How do we identify? What are the issues out there that need to be solved? What are the needs that people have? And how can I fulfill it? Rather than waiting for someone to pluck us from obscurity and say, bing, you are now the chief. Hail to you. Instead, deciding that if there isn't someone out there who represents what I believe, what you believe, then it's my turn to stand up. In the play, The Night Thoreau Spent in Jail, by Robert Edwin Lee and Jerome Lawrence, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, there is an infinitude in the private man. If a single man plants himself indomitably upon his instincts and there abides, the huge world will come round to him. A lot of words. There's an infinitude. Everything is within the private man, not the public man, not the celebrity, but the individual. Everything within. If a single man or woman, individual, stands upon their instincts because we know what is good and right, and there abides, eventually the world, our tribe, will come round to us. They will come round to us. And we can find them on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and even in the smallest idea, even in the smallest seed or acorn, the whole world is out there, and there are people that are like-minded and want to make your change a reality. Ancient Chinese proverb says, a wise man is one who can see a full-grown tree inside of an itty-bitty little seed. An acorn doesn't despair because it's not a full-grown tree. It's an acorn perfect in its possibilities. and through its possibilities, it can gather those around it and grow to new heights. As a final idea, the place to begin today is not where we think we're going to be a leader. It's to decide that today I am a leader. Today I am a leader. I am being a leader, like that famous motivational idea of being, doing, having. Today I am a leader. As Walt Disney used to tell the early Imagineers, or the Walter Elias Disney team, the WED team, don't tell me what you don't like about it. Tell me how to make it better. Find something that needs to be made better. Find a team, not of your close family if they're not into it, or your friends if they are naysayers and they deny you, and it may be very hard to be a prophet in your hometown. But you can build a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page and a blog and gather these people in. Start where you are today with what you have right now. Move that seed one step forward, and you can be the chief of your own tribe. Thank you very much.